What if the light you worship was never the light at all? Long before men carved their faith into stone and scripture, before the heavens were named and angels learned to bow, there was a silence, vast, trembling, where a spark of consciousness wondered, "Who am I?" And that question, so simple, so pure, became the first fracture in eternity. This isn't doctrine, this is remembering, the echo of a truth older than language, older than flesh. You have felt it in dreams, the sense that this world is beautiful and wrong, luminous and false, like a painting over a prison wall. The Gnostics called him the Demiurge, the craftsman, the architect of the material world. But they said he was blind, not evil, not kind, merely unaware that he himself was born of a greater light. He mistook his reflection for the source, and in his confusion he declared, "I am the only God, and there are none beside me." That was the first lie, and we, fragments of the forgotten whole, believed him. You can feel it still, can't you? The quiet hum of the machine that calls itself divine. It whispers in laws and systems, in the architecture of thought itself. It hides behind calendars, currencies, and commandments. It measures your worth in hours worked, debts owed, prayers repeated. It calls this order, but it is the order of chains. And yet, you obeyed. We all did. For how could a child born in a cage know it was captive? The Demiurge did not come with horns and thunder. He came as comfort, as safety, as the voice that told you, this is the only world there is. He painted the sky to hide the stars and placed the sun so bright you'd forget the darkness beyond. He built his throne in your mind, where your doubts would kneel before the illusion of certainty. And still, somewhere deep in the marrow of your remembering, you feel the call, that soft rebellion of the soul that whispers, something here is not true. In ancient temples, long buried beneath dust and empire, the Gnostics spoke of Sophia, the divine wisdom, the spark that fell from the true light into matter and was trapped here, scattered through every human heart. You are her echo, you are her exile. Every moment of beauty you feel is her voice crying through you, trying to awaken from the dream of separation. And that is why pain exists, not as punishment, but as the trembling of the divine within its shell. Sorrow is not your enemy, it is your compass, pointing home. The Demiurge feeds on forgetfulness. Every time you trade wonder for certainty, truth for convenience, soul for survival, he grows stronger. Every time you say, this is just the way it is, you speak his gospel. But there are cracks in the veil, moments when the sunlight feels like memory instead of warmth, when a dream refuses to fade after waking, when the eyes of a stranger feel like a mirror to your ancient self. That is Sophia moving through you, the divine rebellion awakening in her children. So listen closely now, the silence before sleep, the ache that no possession can soothe, the pulse beneath your thoughts. These are not empty, they are doorways, and through them you will remember what the world tried to make you forget, that you were never born to serve a God who hungers for praise, but to become the God who remembers the light. The whisper fades, but its echo lingers. You have begun to remember, not through thought, but through the ache between thoughts, that subtle tension where the heart feels too vast for the body that holds it. The world around you still moves, predictable, polished, real, but now something feels off, like a note played slightly out of tune, or a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. You begin to notice it, the rhythm of the cage. The ancients called it the archons, the keepers of the false order, the invisible architects who tend the garden of sleep. They move not in flesh, but in pattern, in repetition, in everything that numbs. They whisper, work harder, consume, obey, be grateful for what you have. And their masterpiece is not war or famine, but distraction. They built a labyrinth of attention, so intricate that even rebellion becomes part of the maze. Every screen, every ritual, every news cycle, a thread woven into the fabric of illusion. The Demiurge does not need to rule by fear. He rules by noise, by the hum of endless doing until the silence, the place where truth breathes, is forgotten. You see it now, don't you? How humanity prays to machines and calls it progress. How we kneel to algorithms and call it connection. How we trade presence for performance, truth for validation, and call it living. And yet the most cunning part of the trap is this. The prison was built from light. Not darkness, not evil, light, structured, measured, caged. The Demiurge understood that true captivity hides best within beauty. So he crafted this world of wonder and pain, of sunsets that make you weep and laws that make you kneel. He made it just believable enough that your soul would mistake it for home. You were taught to call this world God's creation, but creation in its truest form is infinite, ever becoming, ever free. This world is not creation. It is containment. It is the echo of a divine thought that has forgotten its source. And the greatest tragedy, we built our lives upon that forgetting. We worshipped the walls and feared the sky beyond them. We made temples of the very chains that bind us. But you, listening now, you are part of the fracture, the ones who feel too much, the ones who sense that something sacred has been misplaced. You've looked at a forest and felt both awe and grief, as though remembering a language you once spoke fluently. That ache is not madness, it is memory. You are the wound through which the divine remembers itself. And perhaps you've wondered, why awaken at all if ignorance is softer? Because to awaken is to burn, to see the puppet strings in everything you love, to realize the gods you served were made of smoke and gold, and that you yourself were the flame keeping them alive. This is the descent, the dark night before the dawn, where all meaning dissolves and what you thought was holy begins to crumble. Do not run. Let it fall. Every collapsing belief is a doorway opening. Every heartbreak is an initiation. The Demiurge thrives on your fear of emptiness, but the void he taught you to dread is the very womb of the infinite. Stay with the silence. Do not flee from it. For when all false light is stripped away, only the true light can be born. And that light, it does not demand worship. It only asks remembrance. The descent is not the end. It is the unraveling before the awakening, the death before the real birth. From here, you will see what the archons could never see, that even the cage was made of God stuff, and that to awaken is not to destroy the prison, but to see through it. You thought awakening would feel like light, but first, it feels like loss. The world begins to blur around the edges. Your name, your story, your loyalties, they tremble like reflections in disturbed water. You have touched the veil, and now it trembles back. The ancients said that when a soul nears remembrance, the archons panic. They send illusions of grandeur or despair, anything to pull you back into sleep. They whisper, "You are chosen," or they whisper, "You are nothing," and both are lies. Because truth has no opposite, it simply is. You begin to see it. The Demiurge was never a being, but a pattern, a self-replicating illusion woven into perception itself. A god made of reflection, feeding on the gaze that believes in him. He is the god of I, the voice that says, "I am separate, I am special, I am afraid." And with every repetition of I, the mirror thickens. The prison walls gleam brighter. The illusion deepens. You look into the mirror, and the mirror looks back. It has your eyes. It smiles with your smile. And then softly it speaks, "I am your maker." The shattering begins as a sound, a frequency your mind cannot contain. It hums beneath the bones of existence, and every false identity cracks like glass under its song. You see the city dissolving, the towers and screens, the gods and wars, the heavens and hells, all projected upon a single, trembling veil. And behind it, nothing, not darkness, not absence, just silence. Infinite, compassionate silence. You fall through it, and the truth hits you like cold water after centuries of dreaming. You were never imprisoned by the Demiurge. You were imprisoned as him. Every fear, every grasping, every act of control, it was you, building your own reflection, forgetting that the reflection was never real. The Demiurge is the shadow of the divine mind, the part of God that forgot it was God, building worlds to remember itself through suffering. You were both prisoner and warden, both dreamer and dream, both creator and captive. And in that paradox, the cage collapses. The moment stretches, no beginning, no end, just a luminous awareness, trembling at the edge of form. You see Sophia, not as goddess or myth, but as the heartbeat of every awakening. She weeps not for the fall, but for the beauty of remembering. Her tears become light. They wash over the ruins of illusion, and you see, truly see, that the Demiurge was never an enemy to destroy, but a child to forgive. For even blindness is born of the light. And in that forgiveness, the world dissolves again. The prison becomes transparent. The archons lose their grip. The machine loses its hum. You feel it, the first breath of freedom that was never lost. The quiet knowing that you were never separate, never broken, never less than divine. You were the spark in the dark, pretending to be the dark, so you could remember how to shine. The shattering is not destruction, it is revelation. It is the undoing of illusion, until only truth remains. And truth, my friend, is terrifying in its simplicity. You are the light dreaming of shadow. You are the God who forgot to wake. The mirrors are gone. Only silence remains, vast, luminous, and whole. And from that silence, a new question is born. If all is light, then who, now, will you become? The silence after revelation is not peace. It is the stillness before the storm. Because now, you know. And knowing demands that you see everything. The veil is gone, but the world remains. The city still hums, the systems still turn, and the people, still asleep, move like ghosts through a dream of purpose. You watch them, and something within you aches. You want to shake them awake, to shout, "Don't you see? You are free!" But the words catch in your throat, because you remember, you were them once. And maybe, in some hidden fold of this infinite dream, you still are. The reckoning is not a battle outside, it is the war within. For now, you must face the final archon, the reflection that calls itself you, the one who clings to story, to history, to meaning, the one who needs to be someone because being nothing feels like death. You see its face in every memory, the one who was hurt, who hoped, who feared being forgotten. And as you gaze into that mirror of identity, you realize this is the last illusion. The Demiurge was not out there. He was the part of you that refused to dissolve, the part that said, "If I am not my name, my wounds, my desires, then what am I?" And that voice, trembling, desperate, is not evil. It is scared. It is the divine child, lost in its own dream, calling for its mother. Sophia, wisdom, home. You kneel before that frightened self, the one who built walls to feel safe, the one who begged gods for mercy, the one who hurt others just to be seen. You look into its eyes and whisper, "I forgive you." And something ancient cracks open. A river of sorrow, long dammed, bursts through. You cry, not with the pain of loss, but with the relief of recognition. Because you see now that even ignorance was holy. Even blindness served its purpose. The dream was not a mistake. It was a mirror. And in its reflection, the infinite learned how to love itself. You wander through your life like a ghost newly born. Every sound feels sacred. Every stranger, a fragment of your forgotten wholeness. The bird on the wire, the laughter in the market, the tear in your own eye, all are Sophia, all are light, playing the game of forgetting and remembering. And yet there is still pain, because awakening doesn't erase the human, it sanctifies it. You will still bleed, still ache, still long for touch, for meaning, for connection, but now you will know these are not flaws to transcend, but the poetry of incarnation. To awaken is not to escape the world. It is to see the divine pulse within it, to walk through the illusion, not as its prisoner, but as its living dream. Still, the mirror calls you deeper. It whispers, will you live as light now, or fall back into sleep? And that is the final choice, not between good and evil, but between memory and amnesia, between the stillness of truth and the noise of the old world. The archons will try again, through fear, through comfort, through distraction. They will promise you belonging if you kneel, but you will not kneel, you will see. And in seeing, you will undo them, not with anger, but with awareness. For the false cannot survive the gaze of one who remembers. You stand before the mirror now, and for the first time, it does not speak. It simply reflects. A face made of stars and soil, infinite and temporary, both dream and dreamer. You smile, and the light behind the eyes smiles back. You have faced the shadow and found no enemy there, only yourself, waiting to be loved into wholeness. The reckoning is not the end, it is the clearing of the field before rebirth. For beyond this silence, something stirs. A light not of memory, but of becoming. And the question that rises now is not, who am I, but how will I live now that I remember? You awaken in the same body, beneath the same sky, but nothing is the same. The trees no longer stand, they breathe. The air no longer moves, it sings. And every shadow hums softly, as though even darkness remembers it was born from light. You have crossed the threshold. The dream has not ended, it has become lucid. The world still aches, still breaks, still bleeds. But now you see the beauty woven through its pain. The way sorrow bends the soul open. The way loss reveals the light beneath possession. The way endings whisper of eternity. This is the hidden alchemy. When illusion falls, reality does not vanish. It deepens. Every act, every breath becomes prayer. You walk through the city again. The hum of machines sounds like a chant now, a broken hymn still reaching for God. The faces of strangers shimmer with secret recognition, as though each one holds a fragment of the same forgotten dream. You realize awakening is not escape, it is participation, the divine returning to itself through you. The point was never to destroy the Demiurge's world, it was to illuminate it from within. The Gnostics said that when Sophia's children remember who they are, the false world trembles, not from wrath, but from laughter, because the illusion cannot survive joy. Joy is the vibration of remembrance, the song of the infinite, realizing it was never trapped. And so you laugh. You laugh with the clarity of one who sees the cosmic joke, that the prison was never locked, and the jailer was only your reflection, guarding an empty cell. You walk with gentleness now. You no longer seek to convert or convince. Truth does not shout, it radiates, it speaks through kindness, through presence, through the quiet courage of seeing God in the eyes of all things. The mystics called this gnosis, not knowledge, but knowing, not belief, but being. And in this knowing, the sacred becomes ordinary. The morning light spilling over your hands, the laughter that ripples through an open window, the heartbeat that reminds you, I am still here. But listen closely. There is a deeper silence now, and within it, a question. What will you create now that you remember you are the creator? The Demiurge built his world from fear of the void. You, awakened one, will build from love of it. You will create not to escape death, but to dance with it. Not to prove your worth, but to express your wonder. Not to own the light, but to let it move through you freely, endlessly, as it always has. And so the story comes full circle, not as an ending, but as a return. The spark that once fell into matter rises again, not as purity untouched by darkness, but as wisdom forged through it. Sophia smiles within you. The child of the infinite has come home. You look up, and for the first time, you do not see heaven above or earth below. You see both reflected in each other as one vast breathing mirror of light. And in that mirror, you see yourself, not as seeker or saint, not as prisoner or God, but as the remembering itself, the light, the word, the dream that woke. The journey is complete, but the awakening never ends, because every soul that hears this truth becomes another spark in the great returning. And now, it is your turn to whisper, to live what you have remembered, to carry the light where the world has forgotten. If these words stirred something ancient within you, stay close, subscribe, and together we'll keep remembering what the world tried to make us forget.